is Julianne Meyer, and I am the host of Own Your Wellness. Happy Monday. I'm excited to be here. It has been quite the eventful past couple of days, shall we say, and I could let it all out, but I'll just say that it is good timing to have our guest today because whenever I'm near her, I just feel love and light and just hope. So without further ado, let me introduce our guest today, Dr. Whitney. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Julianne, that was such a sweet introduction. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Hello.
Absolutely. I am so glad you're here today. And I meant it. I mean, I didn't tell you before we came on, but woo, it's been a doozy of news. And I'm just like a little like, so I'm glad we're here because every time you and I have the opportunity to speak, you enlighten me with something fascinating. And like I said, your energy is just absolutely amazing. So let's start off with you telling us a bit about yourself and your own wellness journey.
Very nice. Great question. I am a born and raised Californian. So I grew up in a small town outside of Sacramento called Folsom. If anybody of you are Johnny Cash fans, Folsom Prison Blues, I actually grew up across the river from the state penitentiary. So kind of a claim to fame there. But I didn't really come into health and wellness or the understanding that health was actually something that you have to work for and it's an investment until the end of my teenage years and early into my 20s. And a part of that journey was going through undergrad and, you know, kind of learning that you have to take care of yourself in some way and learning how to cook for yourself. And so at the time I was taking a nutrition class and a biochemistry class and an organic chemistry class and all of those different pieces that I was interested in of how those pieces play in our body. And the reality that we are what we eat was really profound for me. And I hadn't had that realization ever at that point. The other fun fact is that I used to want to be a larger animal vet. And so alternative health wasn't necessarily something that was even on my radar. I was very naive to it. And I actually ended up shadowing with a vet near my undergrad alma mater for about 9 months in my senior year and had my eyes opened to the darker sides of allopathic medicine. And as a disclaimer, I just want to throw this out here. I'm not bashing Western medicine whatsoever. I have many family members who are here with me today because of the life-saving qualities. I think my purpose is more along the lines of creating a better collaboration between professions. So long story short, that experience at the vet's office actually started me thinking because I would see sick pets come in with pretty sick owners. And then on the opposite, I would see healthy pets come in with healthy, happy families in tow. And so that was a really big light bulb for me that went off to say, okay, I got to start looking at this in a different way. And so I did. Interviewed with naturopaths, osteopaths, Chinese herbologists, MDs, you name it, and tried to see what felt right and what felt best within my body. And nothing lit that internal fire as much as getting to talk to the chiropractors that I talked to. And in part, really, I think it's more about me than it is any of those other professions. I get pretty overwhelmed when there's a lot of different things going on and a lot of different options. I really like simplicity. And with chiropractic, I have a very narrow scope of practice. I adjust the spine. I adjust the spine, and it benefits the whole being. And it benefits the whole person. So rather than having a whole bunch of different ways to treat different organ systems, different bodily joints, different things in that respect, I get to adjust the spine and have a really big impact on the end organs. by freeing up stress from a nervous system so that brain and body can connect, right? So I hope that answers your question. I don't mind.
No, it does. It totally does. And for those people that are watching, because there's a lot of people who think of chiropractors as snap, crackle, and pop. And I know that you are not one of those kinds at all. So I would love, because you haven't, I would just want you to explain how what you do might not be what other people think you do.
Great question. Yes, exactly. My claim is I don't snap, crackle, pop the neck. So if you consider traditional chiropractic, a lot of times people think of like, oh my gosh, they're telling me to like relax my body, and they have my head in their hands, and they're going to do the thing, and it's going to make so much noise, and it's this whole anxiety piece, right? And you know, there are definitely people who enjoy it and are able to relax into that space with ease. I found the technique that I practice. It's called Blair upper cervical. I actually found the technique because the traditional way of adjusting the neck in chiropractic didn't serve my body. And so I had to then journey out and say, okay, I believe chiropractic is an amazing science and philosophy. There is something that's going to help my headaches and migraines at the time is what I was dealing with. Getting off on my story again.
No, that's beautiful.
But it's a part of how I found Blair. So
but somebody can relate. So
So I was actually, I was in chiropractic college, and I wasn't getting relief. My migraines were actually getting worse. And so I started to branch out and look for a different solution. And that's when I found the Blair technique. And what is so amazing about the Blair technique is that it is so in line with my own philosophy of life and humanity and everything on the planet, is that we thrive on diversity. The fact that there's one way to everything, or one solution to everything, or a one pill fixes all mentality, that's not real. We thrive on diversity and our uniqueness and our individuality, right? And so the Blair technique takes that into consideration. I get to look at everybody's necks and everybody's joints from the right and left sides and say, hey, how are you designed? What do you look like? How are you misaligned? And so I will actually rely really heavily on imaging to be able to guide my adjustments. And so I adjust by hand still, with the drop away headpiece. Honestly, the worst part of the adjustment is kind of the noise of the headpiece. It's really loud. But other than that, it's painless. It's a lot of times people get done with an adjustment. They're like, did you do anything? It's like, yes, I'll check on you tomorrow. You're definitely maybe feeling a little bit of soreness in areas you weren't expecting because of how powerful these adjustments are. So, the Blair technique, I get to look at right, look at left, determine how they're misaligned, actually measure the angle of the joint. And I get to geek out when I adjust and use a protractor and line my body up to that person's anatomy so that I'm delivering a correction for them that is literally uniquely tailored for them, rather than applying a cookie cutter correction to their spine. And why is it so important that we adjust the neck so specifically, right? I think that's a lot of times a question people will ask is like, why the neck? If you think about it, our brain is in control of every organ, cell, and tissue in the body, right? And that control happens through our nervous system. And so our nervous system is kind of like, imagine the 405 freeway. For those of you who aren't in California, I apologize, but this is
or West Coast. We have it in Washington State
imagine
too.
Your local interstate, right? And so that local interstate is this really fat, got 2 lanes going in either direction, and then there's exits and on-ramps going on at different points. And so our spinal cord is exactly the same as that. You have exits and on-ramps, right? That are going to and from things like your finger, your lungs, your baby toe. And all of that control is a direct extension through the spinal cord, which the most dense point of nerves that I can affect is literally right here, where the brain exits from the skull. So that's why I take such care and honor with adjusting people's necks.
I have a question about that in particular. Does it mean anything if your neck snap, crackles, and pops on its own?
Totally. And, you know, we could dive into a whole nother entire episode of like, what is that popping noise?
Is it a bad thing always, or can it be like, I don't know.
No. So let's unpack what the sound is, right? So let's start there. The pop or crack sound that you experience, it can be from a couple different things. Traditionally, if you're thinking about chiropractic wise, that pop sound that you experience is actually gas getting released from a joint.
Gotcha.
So joints don't have direct blood supply. They need movement to be able to stimulate the blood vessels around them to literally weep blood and nutrients into that joint so that they can stay healthy. And also on the other side, the joint needs movement to be able to get rid of waste. So waste is actually a sign of life. Being able to get rid of a byproduct for us, either exhaling, going to the bathroom, right? That is a sign that we are living and thriving. And a joint's way of releasing waste is through movement. Okay. If you don't move a joint very well, whether that be from injury, literally lack of movement, you start to get toxic waste buildup. I'm going to use a really unfortunate analogy here, but it usually paints the picture. Imagine you didn't flush your toilet for like a week straight. Nasty, right?
Yeah.
It's a similar concept. Your joint is literally starting to get inflamed because of all that toxic material that's not being released.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of times when you make an adjustment, that pop is like your joint being like, thank you. It's literally exhaling, right? It's getting rid of its gas. When people have that noise that kind of happens on their own, similar concept. You're literally releasing gas from a joint. Pretty wild. Another option is that you could have some instability. And so what that means is that the little ligaments that are supposed to be nice and tight are not as tight as they used to be. And so they're not limiting motion like they used to be. So you get more motion than you should, which can create a little bit, almost like you're playing like a little guitar string, right?
That's a good analogy.
Thanks. I try to come up with them. I try to pride myself on creating these analogies because honestly, science terminology, they like use way too many acronyms. It seems like things, they get complicated. It's like, let's make it relatable.
Well, plus it paints a picture and it's a lot easier for those of us who are more visual anyway.
Totally.
No, that's fascinating. I've always wondered that. I know I'm not the only person because, it's like, is that a bad sign? But
yeah. And I hate it when people tell me like, oh, do you want to find out what's wrong with you? Or like, it just doesn't feel right. And so when people say like, is it bad? Is it good? It just is, I think we need to kind of drop that concept of good or bad, because then you start to identify like bad is pain. And then you start stimulating your sympathetic nervous system, and literally you'll make your problem worse just from that mental concept of thinking bad rather than it just is.
Exactly. No, I talk about that all the time with food in particular, because stop labeling food as good and bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one. No, I love that. It is time for us to go to a quick commercial break. So we'll be back in just a moment. For those of you who are watching us live, I want to say hello, welcome to the show. And for those of you who are catching us Netflix style, hello to you as well. As I mentioned, it is time for those commercials. So we'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back, everyone. If you're just joining us now, I'm Julianne Meyer. You're watching Own Your Wellness. Love live TV. Anyway, and our guest today is Dr. Whitney. Let's bring her back. Hello, welcome back. So, during the commercial break, I was thinking about something that you said that I really want to touch on, and that is you were talking about this wellness team. And I'd love for you to explain more what you mean by that, because I know a lot of people feel like Western medicine's the only answer. And I don't agree with that. I'm like you. Western medicine has its place and it's definitely helps loved ones and myself. But I think of that as sick care as opposed to health care. So could you please explain what you think of that?
Totally. So I think we kind of dive into the realm of reactionary care versus preventative care. And they're two very different concepts, right? It's kind of like, honestly, a lot of times I refer to preventative care as investing into your health. And literally a lot of people that you see who have invested financially when they're younger, they're actually benefiting when they're older. The same concept is totally true for your body. If you're investing into your body, doesn't even matter how young you are. But if you wanted to start doing that and start investing preventatively, you are going to benefit in the long run. So this concept of a team is that you have a group of practitioners actually working together in their expertise for your benefit, right? So I am a chiropractor. I want to stay within my box, but I definitely recognize when I have patients, they need to go see a personal trainer. They need to go see a physical therapist. They need to go talk to somebody and have their emotional state addressed, right? There's so many different avenues. They need to go see their medical practitioner to have a certain like blood panel taken or to be evaluated. And those are all pieces that go into somebody's health and well-being. And too many times I've been in practice and talking to a patient and they're like, I was trying to explain to my massage therapist about what you're doing and about what you've explained to me and about what my condition is, but I couldn't really remember or I couldn't explain it as well as you did. Why not connect us?
Yeah.
Why not connect the chiropractor, the massage therapist, the acupuncturist, right? So we can facilitate the best care and best preventative action for that person. Another piece that I'm going to get on a soapbox a little bit here, but I find very frustrating is that a lot of practitioners will talk down on one another. And when, somebody comes in and says, hey, my chiropractor or my massage therapist or my personal trainer has been working with me on X, Y, and Z. And then that practitioner will, gets very egoic and is like, oh, why are they doing that? Right? Or you shouldn't be doing that. It leaves the patient in a very conflicting space, right? They've built a loving, trusting relationship with all of these practitioners. Obviously, they're going to them, and now they're kind of put in this funny spot of, well, what do I do? Who do I trust? And it would be so much more simple if the practitioners who actually have the language and the knowledge behind what they do were able to communicate with one another and explain what the reasoning behind their practice is, how they're helping that person, and for the benefit of that person, right? Because really, that is the point of healthcare.
Yes, it is. And I will say, as a personal trainer, I can't even tell you how many doctors I've worked with just to make sure we're all on the same page, because it's kind of like when a doctor prescribes a medication and doesn't know that another doctor prescribed a conflicting one. So
exactly,
you need to be on the same page. So I love that, you take the whole person into consideration. Is that what got you to think about opening up this new space that you're opening?
100%. I'm glad you brought that up. So I am on the precipice of opening Soul Aligned Chiropractic and Yoga. It is a chiropractic office. We offer massage, we offer health coaching, and we're also a standalone yoga studio. So trying to create that preventative approach, right? Trying to create some foundation of different body workers working together. Yoga has been an inspiration for me, has been my guide, has been my lifestyle for the better part of a decade now. And I have not found a better way to create that mind, body, soul connection on and off, right? And I think that's the biggest part of what I also want to be bringing through with chiropractic is that I see people get better to an extent and then hit this plateau. And I can't get them past the plateau because that's not my responsibility. They need to be moving their body intentionally to be able to level up. They need to start building that strength back and actually carving out the time. And so that is my dream, is having them incorporate yoga as that strength building, as that intentional movement, as the intentional mindset into the practice. So very, very excited to have this space be coming into fruition and really dreams coming true right now.
As we speak. I love it. And where are you located?
So San Clemente, California.
Yes. That's amazing. And don't you have views and everything?
Yes. So another kind of background piece for me is I have a very deep-rooted connection with nature. Between undergrad and grad school, I actually spent 5 years living and working in the outdoors. A lot of that time I was homeless by choice, working and living out of my backpack, my now husband's Subaru, a van that we bought, and just traveling around to different campgrounds and working in outdoor education. So we actually taught young kids in California how to interact with nature, how to be stewards of the land, how to have a deeper connection with themselves and others through communication. And that's something that I want to instill and continue to bring through with this practice, is helping people alleviate their pain to be able to discover the nature that's within and the nature that's without, right? Pain can be
As
so
within, so without.
Yes, within and without. So we have taken the extra step to find a space that actually has views of the ocean. So
that's beautiful.
Yeah, get adjusted, have your yoga session with a view of the Pacific. Honestly, you guys, sunset sessions are going to be just next level. I cannot wait. And right, it's quality of life for me, but also it's quality of life for the patients as well. Yeah.
It is important where you are and the energy that's around you. So I love that. I think that's amazing. I also wanted to pop up your email address so that people can reach out to you directly. And obviously Soul Aligned Chiro and yoga. Yay. I'm so excited for you. I know that this is such a big deal and it's actually coming true. So yay. So is there, I know. It's like, wow, that's so cool. Do you have any specials or promotions that are coming up with that as well?
Excellent question. We do have our grand opening promotion coming through. So within the chiropractic office, I am offering a free consultation to anyone who's interested to see if our office is the right fit for them. And then 50% off actually on our exam and imaging. And a free doctor's consult on the way back. So I want people to come in. I want to talk with people. And even if I'm not the right fit, I want to make sure that they are going to someone who is the right fit. And I would love to be able to be that guide. On the yoga side of things, we actually have our monthly unlimited package for $89. Which I think is a total steal for anywhere else. I don't know if you've seen memberships these days for even gyms, but it's kind of scary.
It's like way up there.
Way up there, yeah. And so that's we're trying to meet people where they're at. Yeah.
Well, I mean, as somebody who, I don't know you really well, but I do know that your goal is to help people. And like you said, if it's not you, you want to be able to guide them to the right person. So I just want to take this, have you take this moment to encourage those people who maybe tried to see a chiropractor before and maybe like you, they didn't really have the results that they wanted. So, how can they keep going and finding the right one? Is there like a way to know, or, how did you find it?
I talk to people, and honestly, I think that's one of my recommendations. If you're going to go see any new healthcare professional, like actually interview them, because I think a lot of people don't recognize that they have a choice in their healthcare. They don't have to settle with who their insurance just gave them on a whim. They get to pick who's providing them care and loving them, right? So I would say, if you are somebody who's interested, drop me an email. Give me a phone call. I would love to talk to you about your hesitations. I'm not trying to sell you anything, but I do know the power of chiropractic, not only in my life, but those who I've also seen. And if you're also considering chiropractic because you've been living in chronic pain, we can definitely help. Yeah.
See, I like that. I like the idea of having you as a resource as well, because who do you trust? I don't necessarily see, the thing is like, I wouldn't necessarily go to a friend and ask them, because it's like asking them about their diet. It's not necessarily going to be what's going to work for me.
Totally.
Yeah. So I like that you offer that as an option as well, because it just shows how much you are there to help people, find their way, because
Yes.
like you said, it is up to them.
Yeah.
So if somebody is going to be interviewing, for example, what are some questions that maybe they should ask?
Great question. So I would say, first off, do you take imaging? So what I mean by that is, to see is to know. To not see is to guess.
Mm-hmm.
If they are going to be a chiropractor that's doing hands-on, what we call osseous adjustments, those adjustments by hand, they should have some understanding of what your bony anatomy looks like. So that would be big question number one. I'd say big question number two is, how often do you reevaluate my care? So that is going to put the accountability on the doc to say, hey, are you reaching your health goals? And am I helping you reach your health goals? And how? And at what point do we have to figure out a different way to support you or to refer you to somebody else because you're not getting better under my care, right? And so I think that's a lot of times what happens with people who are discouraged with chiropractic care, is that they're not getting the results that they want, and then they just stop going. And also, the doc's not reevaluating that patient to say, hey, we should try something different, right? So the two big questions I would say is, do you image, and how often do you re-exam? And yeah, I maybe a third question would be, how long do you spend with me on a patient visit, right? And that is going to vary widely with chiropractors. But if you're somebody like myself that needs a little extra space and cushion to feel held, loved, and supported with a healthcare professional, then you're going to want to know, right? So that's going to determine you investing into that office.
No, I think that that's a really valid point, and it's not unreasonable to want that.
No, definitely not.
That's the thing that I find a little disappointing about Western medicine, is that missing piece of time with the doctor. I spend more time with the PA than I do with the doctor, which is okay if that's what I need, but how do I know, and how does the doctor know? So these are all, I like that that is a question. I just want to highlight it because I think it's okay to ask, and I think it is important to ask, unless you don't care.
And if I could throw in one, on that topic, you could totally open another can of worms, is that the medical practitioners, if they're taking insurance, they're actually on a timer. And so you have an allotted time when you're going in to see your primary care physician, how much time your insurance will cover and actually pay that doctor. And so they are literally trying to stay in their time constraints, and are in some respect having your insurance company dictate your care. And so there's another big piece to kind of unpack, is that, do you go to a doctor who's taking insurance, or do you pay out of pocket? And what are the pros and cons between those two, right?
Yeah, and I think that is actually a really important question, because it comes back down to options, like you were talking about before. We don't think of it as an option. It's like we're just told this is where you go. But I love this idea of owning your wellness. I mean, that's what this show's about.
Empowerment to your health. You get a choice. You get to choose.
Exactly. So with what you do, what do you think is, I know that you've shared with me some pretty interesting things about what you do that maybe the public doesn't know or have any idea about? Like, so what is something that you would love to share? Because I know, and not that you have to share this piece, but like the teeth thing, for example. I'm just, because most people wouldn't know about that, but what would you love to share?
Oh my goodness. Big question. So let's demystify the concept that chiropractors are only pain doctors. Okay. Pain is a really great way to get people in the door because we are really good at dealing with pain. And there's a number of different reasons for that. One being actually moving your body and moving a joint helps to care for the joint, kind of how we talked about earlier. You're getting rid of those toxic wastes. Another benefit is that you actually stimulate your brain to find a new normal. So we help to regulate and normalize people's posture, which gives long-term benefit and actually brings back better weight-bearing mechanics to somebody's body. Hence, less pain and stress on a joint that's like struggling because it's taking all the load, right? And then the third piece is that a chiropractic adjustment actually stimulates the part of the brain called the prefrontal cortex. Okay, big word. Don't get scared. It's okay. Those are going to be the two front lobes here, right? And the prefrontal cortex has a number of different responsibilities. One being your connection with other people. So like the level of empathy that you're able to express, not only to other people, but yourself as well, right? So that's the area of our brain that's in charge of self-love. Also, it's in charge of things like impulse control and helping to regulate with those impulses, those cravings, right? It's just a bonus that area is also happens to be the area where you can release happy hormones to help down-regulate your pain and bring you into a better state of peace, right? So when you say chiropractors are just pain docs, it's so much more, right? And we work with a number of different things. We don't necessarily cure anything, right? We don't treat anything. We work with somebody's nervous system to help it bring better balance. Healthy side effects of that better balance are going to be reduced anxiety, have reduced blood pressure, less headaches, better blood flow, right? Better night's sleep all around. And so those are just the minutia. We could open that box a little bit more.
I know.
you had mentioned the teeth, right? And I think we got on this conversation when we were talking about dentistry and braces. So the body has a number of different mechanisms, we'll say, to keep your eyes level to the horizon. And it turns out that the way that your teeth actually connect with one another are one of those mechanisms. So if you've got an occlusion that's slightly off and you're biting down harder on one side, you actually can alter your posture.
So crazy.
Right? So it may not even be your hip that's the problem, but it's the hip that's in pain. But really, the hip is in pain because your posture is trying to keep your eyes level to the horizon, right? Because you're not biting correctly. And so it's
fascinating.
It's fascinating, right? But it's also kind of overwhelming to figure out, okay, I have this person in front of me. They have this complaint. How do I start to narrow down what is actually the root cause and where to break? So your feet are another one of those mechanisms. Geek out. I kind of like adjusting people's feet because I like adjusting the top and the bottom. They're the most neurologically dense places on people's bodies.
I didn't even know you could.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Wow. That's amazing. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm a little blown away, but we do need to go to a commercial break. So we're going to be back in just a moment. I know. I don't even want to go to commercial, but it is that time. So we will be right back after these messages.
Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversations. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Welcome back, everyone. All right, I don't even want to waste any time. Let's bring our special guest, Dr. Whitney, back onto the show. All right, so we're running low on time, and I've got questions to ask.
Bring it.
All right, so something that you sort of touched on before, and I want to say something first before I ask my question. One, it's that, we live in a microwave society and we expect things right now super fast, really quick and easy. And I know that everybody is an individual, but how long should somebody wait to see some sort of relief from the issues that they're having when they see a chiropractor?
I am going to give an answer that nobody likes, right? Is that it's conditional.
Mm-hmm.
Your past histories, your family's past histories, your life experiences, your injuries all tell a story and are also going to dictate how your recovery process goes.
Mm-hmm.
And the other piece to that too is your commitment to your care is also going to determine your health outcomes as well. So that's not to say be discouraged, you're not going to get to relief, right? That's not what I'm saying at all. There is light at the end of the tunnel. But it takes hard work, a little bit of sweat equity, and time. And I think time, you totally touched on it. We live in an instant gratifying culture, and this concept that our body takes time to heal is not really touched upon. Our physical tissues have a set amount of time to heal. Think about if you've ever broken a bone. You've gone into the doc, you've gotten your x-rays, they throw a cast on it, and they're like, okay, we're going to reevaluate this in 6 weeks. 6 weeks, right?
Yeah.
6 weeks is literally the amount of time, the minimum amount of time that it's going to take a bone to reknit itself. Okay, yeah, bones are so cool that they can literally regenerate themselves to repair a break and you don't have to do anything. Like, think about how profound that is for a minute, but okay, I digress. Tissues, so soft tissues, things like muscles, ligaments, tendons, they're going to take a longer time than bone. So they get through an initial phase of healing of like laying down scar tissue to immobilize an area and then dealing with the inflammation that the original tissue like injury had. And then you can actually start breaking away that scar tissue to be back in line with the appropriate lines of stress and pressure. Okay. That process alone takes up to 12 weeks minimum. Okay. It can take up to 2 years to go through a full remodeling process. Right?
Yeah.
That's a long time. And it's not often talked about because healthcare practitioners, they're empathetic. They don't want people to feel bad. They want people to get better. However, the reality is we need to be upfront and transparent about these timeframes, right? Within my practice, I reevaluate every person every 12 visits, right? So depending on the person's care, that can be anywhere from every 3 weeks to every 3 months, right? And we check in, we reassess, we see how are those tissues healing. For the majority of the patients, actually at the 3-month mark, I re-X-ray to see how I'm doing, to see, hey, have we established what we want? And generally with the technique that I practice, so not the Blair technique, that's one of the techniques that I practice. I actually blend 2 specialty techniques together. The second being chiropractic biophysics. We call it CBP for short. See what I was saying about the acronyms? Ridiculous. But so this type of chiropractic is actually surrounding curve correction. And so everybody, yes, is unique and is going to have their own expression of their curves. But there are normal ranges that we want people to be in, right? And within CBP, we've actually found that people will get a 40 to 60% recovery of their curve in just 12 weeks.
Wow.
About 90% return of their curve at the end of their second phase of care, which is pretty impressive.
It is. So what I'd like to hear, and I just want to reiterate this because there's so many people that it's not like weight loss necessarily where you can see it. So that's why it's so important to ask how often people reevaluate, correct? That's why.
That's correct. That's totally correct. And the other piece to that too is that's why we use objective measures rather than subjective measures. So I'll explain the difference. Subjective measure would be you coming in and saying, like, on a scale of 0 to 10, I'm a 5 today, right? That 5 has been scientifically proven. If you even just have the slightest bad time in traffic, your 5 one day could be an 8 the next day, right? Or you can see a double rainbow on your way to work and you're so jammed, your favorite song turns on, and that 5 now becomes a 2, right? So that is why we call it subjective information. Objective information is looking at things that you don't really have a mental say in. So
the imaging,
your posture, how much range of motion that you have or don't have or have improved. Right? And so being able to evaluate the 2 in tandem actually paint a better picture.
I like that because I think for a lot of people out there that are watching, one of the fears that they would have about seeing a chiropractor is that they think it's all subjective. And so it's like, how long do you go without knowing if it's going to be better? And, but what you're saying makes so much, and I love the science behind it.
Yes.
It's not just like on a scale, like you said, on a scale of 1 to 10, hey.
Yeah, I feel great today.
Yeah, there's way more to it. So I really want to mention that because, so that people can understand whether or not it is working for them and to not have unrealistic expectations.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think the big part of those objective measures too is retraining ourselves to understand that the absence of pain does not equal health. I'll repeat that one more time. The absence of pain does not equal health.
Yeah. I'm always preaching that. I'm so glad you said it. There's huge
Mantra.
difference. Avoid does not equal goodness.
No. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. We are almost out of time. Is there
Mhm.
anything that you would love to share that maybe you haven't yet, or some other points that maybe you would love to reiterate?
Sure. I think sharing just quickly, I have been through a chronic pain cycle myself. And I think that's something that is unique to a practitioner, especially a healthcare practitioner, is that a lot of times when you're going in to see a doc, you're in a lot of pain and they're like, oh, I'm really sorry. Like the empathetic piece isn't necessarily there. But I have been at my lowest. I have not been able to put my socks on by myself. I have had to get help up off the toilet because I can't do it myself. I've not slept for weeks to months on end because of debilitating pain. And I can tell you there is light at the end of the tunnel. It does get better. It does get better. And it is so worth it to put the time and effort in to see those rewards.
The investment.
It is an investment.
In yourself.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it's worth it. It is so worth it.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I mean, think about how much we spend on insurance, and that's just in case something goes wrong.
Yeah.
But if you're not, putting the right gas in the tank, then
something's gonna go wrong.
Something's gonna go wrong. Yeah.
Not getting set up for success there. You know what I mean?
Exactly. No, exactly. I also wanted to pop up your phone number one more time as well. So for those people that don't prefer email and want to speak to you, they can reach out to you as well.
Call or text. I'm happy to reply.
I love that. I love that. And when is this opening happening? Is it very, very soon?
That is a great question. We're looking at mid-January right now. Okay. So to be continued.
I love it.
I'll get you a more exact date.
Exactly. You can plan till the cows come home, but sometimes it just works the way it works. So
it does.
I totally get that. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show today. I always enjoy spending time with you, and I'm sure the audience has as well.
Thank you so much, Julianne. I cannot wait to just continue this relationship, this friendship, and get to know you deeper as well. I totally agree. It's always nice getting to hang out with you.
Thank you. Well, thanks for being on the show, and I will see you again soon.
Bye, everybody.
And that is all the time that we have for today. I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back on Thursday, and we're actually going to do the show Getting Sober on Thursday. There was some issues this last Thursday, so that's why we did not play that episode. But we will be back. We'll be back strong. It's an important topic. We need to talk about it. So enjoy your week, and we will see you again later this week on Thursday. Yeah. All right. Talk to you guys later. Bye now.